Hey guys, coming at you today with a new, way lower carb, but just as delicious and crispy keto graham cracker recipe. So, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia, I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth, and now I own a keto gluten-free bakery. And I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto and regular just baking possible. So if you're not interested in learning about keto baking, you can head right down to the description box and hit that blog link to see the full recipe. But if you enjoy my recipes, please still hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps to make sure that you guys see my videos on feed every week. Today, some delicious, even lower carb keto graham crackers. Now this recipe I did back in 2021, and then I did an updated video in 2024 and mentioned how I think I can probably lower the carbs because I've learned a lot since 2021 in keto baking. So when I first started keto baking, I thought I couldn't get a crispy anything using whey protein, and instead I would use egg white protein. So that old graham cracker recipe can be dairy-free. So if you're looking for a dairy-free graham cracker recipe, you can have that old recipe. This one is using the whey protein, and it went from my old recipe being 192 grams, which gave us 6 sheets of graham crackers, and it was 13 grams net carbs. This recipe is 304 grams for the whole batch, giving us 10 graham cracker sheets, and it's only 4 grams of net carbs. So a vast difference between graham cracker recipes, and they're both delicious, but the thing that is good about having a lower graham cracker recipe is that using it in other recipes helps to keep the carbs pretty low, because when you add it to like a crust for what I want to make, like a s'mores pie or a peanut butter pie, I haven't been able to do that because the graham crackers were so high in carbs that adding more on top of that made the whole thing too many carbs. I'm excited to bring you guys this graham cracker recipe that is gonna be awesome to have on hand in your pantry because it'll last in your pantry for quite a while, and you can use it for all types of recipes, including my marshmallows, and make some delicious s'mores for the upcoming camping season. So let's get started on this pretty simple recipe. So this is the third like cookie cracker recipe that I have improved upon. So in my last graham cracker recipe, I mentioned that I came up with a new lower carb shortbread. And if you had just seen my Oreo cookie recipe, I started with that recipe to figure out this recipe. So slowly working my way through my old recipes to improve them and make them lower carb. So it starts out with a stick and a half of butter, 170 grams or 12 tablespoons. And you definitely want softened butter here. I do use salted, so if you don't, you would want to add a half teaspoon of salt to your dry mix. Sorry if I sound nasally. My head's still a little stuffed up. Caught a cold from my toddler. I just always weigh everything because it's so much easier and more accurate. And in recipes like this, if for some reason you have too much butter, your crackers may spread too much. If you don't have enough butter, it's going to be really hard to roll out. It will be nice and crispy, but it's going to crack a lot on you and be hard to like get that nice rectangle we want. So I always suggest a scale when baking, especially keto ingredients are even more expensive than regular baking ingredients, and it's much more difficult to bake keto. So a $20, $30 investment on a scale will save you a lot of money in the long run. And it makes it much faster to do recipes. Like instead of getting cups and teaspoons and tablespoons, you can literally just dump onto the scale and it's so much easier. The sweetness level is very customizable in this. I did as low as a 1/4 cup and as much as a 1/2 cup in this. And also I used a little bit of stevia. So I did 1/3 cup of golden erythritol and a 1/2 teaspoon of stevia. I would say you need a little bit of a bulk erythritol, like a 1/4 cup, because the granular nature of erythritol adds to the crunchiness of the cracker because it melts. Allulose, I don't believe will work for a crispy cookie. I've heard people trying to just make regular cookies with allulose, like they literally just fall apart because allulose holds on to moisture and just makes everything super soft, which is great in some recipes, but in a cracker crispy recipe, it's not the best sweetener to use. A 1/2 teaspoon of stevia to that. I would say you can do the whole dough and then taste it for sweetness at the end. There's no eggs in here, so you can taste it and see if you want to add some stevia to the end. If you do that though, just make sure you really mix it after you add that, because it's going to be a pretty thick dough when you're all said and done, and you don't want to have pockets of stevia in your dough. Just like my Oreo cookie, we are using the paddle attachment, and we are beating that until it's light and fluffy. I'm not going to do that while I'm talking, so I'm going to get my dry ingredients real quick. So I'm doing 60 grams or 3/4 of a cup of unflavored whey protein. This would probably be delicious with like a cinnamon something, or if you have a honey flavored something. I was debating on doing more experiments with like a liquid honey, not Wholesome Yum because that is allulose, but I know Chalk Zero has a honey. The only problem is it spikes in people's blood sugar, and I haven't actually tested mine with their products yet, so I'm not sure if it spikes mine or not. So I just kept it at cinnamon graham crackers, not honey cinnamon graham crackers. But if you use a flavored whey protein, just keep in mind there's usually some kind of gum, xanthan gum, so you can probably just leave the xanthan gum out of this recipe. And there's usually sweetener added, so you'd probably have to dial back the sweetness quite a bit. This is the bulk of our flour mix, is the whey protein. Literally, we're just adding a tiny bit of other ingredients to this to give it that graham cracker taste, which is a little bit of like that graininess that you get because they use whole wheat flour, which that's what the coconut flour gives. It gives that little bit of like grit that you get when you eat a graham cracker. And then a little bit of oat fiber to give that a little bit extra oatiness of a flour to the graham cracker. I have found that you can swap gram for gram oat fiber, bamboo fiber, and coconut flour, but I use them in combination with each other to offset the downsides of using them. Like if you use all bamboo fiber in here, which is great because it's literally no carbs, this would be a 0 carb graham cracker, but it'll be like dusty because when you use bamboo fiber for a crispy recipe, it tends to like leave your mouth real dry and dusty tasting. So same thing with oat fiber. That's why we're pairing it a little bit with coconut flour. Coconut flour is pretty gritty and has a lot of like grainy mouthfeel, kind of like almond flour does, and it's higher carb. So you offset both, but you get a little bit of the graininess, which kind of mimics a graham cracker, and you don't get any dustiness from using all oat fiber or bamboo fiber. So it should be 3 tablespoons, but again, I get different measurements every time. Usually an oat fiber is 6 grams per tablespoon, but that gave me 7 and 7. This is a new oat fiber though, so again, it might be different. Like, it's really why I give you all the tips and tricks, so that you know why a recipe might not have come out, because like from brand to brand, oat fibers can be different absorbency rates, and even they can weigh different. So the last time I did all these testings, I had New Naturals oat fiber, but then when I went to repurchase, that was more expensive than Anthony's. So I ended up buying Anthony's brand. And this is the new batch of Anthony's, and it's weighing different. So we need 18 grams. So I did 2 tablespoons, a half tablespoon. Why I hate doing it this way. Dirty everything. And 1 teaspoon, maybe? Nope, that was 19. Half teaspoon. My scale turned off. So it takes too long. We're gonna go with that though. Then 10 grams of coconut flour, which a tablespoon sometimes is 6, 7, or 8 grams. That one was only 5. See? Okay, well, then it should be 2 tablespoons. No, I got 12. Oy vey. So a tablespoon and a half, but my first tablespoon was only 5. Don't make no sense. And then just a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And that's it for our dry ingredients. And the only other ingredient we're adding to this is 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Oh, almost forgot the cinnamon. 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Always like me to say the last one and then forget about something else. That's how it goes. So I'm gonna start my mixer up and then whisk these together, add the vanilla, add these, and we'll start to roll it out. Obviously, we're gonna have to stop and scrape down a couple times. Okay, add in all your dry ingredients at once. I have to give one scrape down and get it all incorporated. You want to make sure it's really well incorporated. You don't have any pockets of butter that doesn't have any flour in it, because then that one part will be really hard to roll out and spread a lot. Really well mixed here. At this point, preheat your oven to 325, and we are going to need 2 pieces of parchment paper to roll out this dough. You need 2 half sheet pan size pieces of parchment paper. So I'll have linked below my half pans that I use. They really come in handy for a lot of stuff. And these pieces of parchment paper, Reynolds has pre-done ones that are this size that comes in handy. That's what I used to use upstairs before I owned a bakery, and I got a big case of the whole sheets. So we're going to need 15 by 10. So what I was doing to make it like kind of the easiest I could was folding and making a rectangle. Obviously, I'm a perfectionist and I want them to look exactly like graham cracker sheets, so that's why I'm doing this. But you don't have to be this precise, obviously. It's probably not right because it's not even, but both of them are kind of like that. And then by 10. Can be a hair out of square, it's not that big a deal. That's gonna give us our guidelines of where we want this dough to go. Now I do use my rolling pin with the bands, but that's only because my other rolling pin's a French rolling pin and it's like kind of tapered at the end and doesn't work well for getting super even big rectangles. So I'm just gonna take it off.
A few minutes later.
Okay, I looked at my recipe and I could have swore I saw 12 tablespoons and 170 grams, but now I can't find it on any of my tabs of why I would have seen that, because my recipe says 10 tablespoons and 140 grams. This is what the dough with 10 tablespoons looks like. It's a lot stiffer of a dough. I'm gonna roll this out. I kind of try to start to get it into a rectangle. Then just start getting it into that rectangle. I always work from the center out because the edges are always thinner than the middle. Going in all different directions, not just up and down and back and forth. So when you get close to like the edges, I use a bench scraper to fill in where I need. Obviously, corners are always where it ends up not rolling out to. Then when you get close to what we need, you can fold up the edges of where the guides are, and you can roll to fit it all the way into all those crevices. I'm pretty close here, so folding up the edges and try to roll it out pretty evenly. Okay, I think we're just about there. I think that looks pretty good. The thing is, you don't really want the edges, the corners too thin, because they'll end up burning on you. So if you have some dough that you think is a little bit thick, you do want to try to get it even thickness so it bakes evenly. So this dough is kind of like a sandy texture almost. It's like kind of like kinetic sand. It's not super sticky. It's kind of sand-like, kind of like my old recipe, but it's a little bit easier to get it into a rectangle than my old one. Popping this in the fridge for 15 or freezer for 5. We'll cut it and get it baking. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. We are gonna mark this into 10 sheets of graham crackers. So 3, 6, 9, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. A little off the line there. Okay, and then in half. Then I just eyeballed the middle part. Technically it's a little bit bigger than a graham cracker sheet because a graham cracker sheet is 2.5 inches wide. So these are actually bigger than a graham cracker sheet. You want to make sure you go through all the way where you want it to break. So if you don't want it to break here, you can just score it a little bit and it won't break, you know, completely. All depends on why you're making these. If you're making them just to use in a graham cracker crust, none of this matters. You don't have to do this at all. But if you want to make s'mores or have dippable sticks for my marshmallow cream recipe, which I'll link up there for you, you'll want to do the sticks. Throwing this in the oven. Last time I did 7 turn 7. I might do a tiny bit longer this time though. You'll see me turn it and be back when I pull it out of the oven. It's been 7 minutes. Do 7 more. Okay, that was 14 minutes. They're nicely golden brown around the edges. The edges are always going to be thinner than the middle, but these got to cool completely and then we can taste them. You don't even want to touch them until they're completely room temperature. Literally, I just kept being too impatient, and they won't break and be crispy until they're completely cooled. If you want to speed the process up, once they're cooled to the touch, you can slide the paper off onto a cooling rack. You just got to be very careful because if you accidentally bend it or anything, it will break in any which way and not on the lines that you made. So just be careful with that. Meet you back here, and luckily, just a second for you. And we're back. It has been probably over an hour now, so let's crack into these graham crackers. See how they crack. Pretty thin sheet here. Might not have perforated them enough. Do a little score on them. They almost broke where they're supposed to. That one broke there. Just needed a little extra help. Might have been able to be cooked 1 more minute too. That's the problem with rolling it out yourself. The edges always seem to be too thin. It's really hard to get that really even graham cracker. Bake them long enough. Nice and crispy crunchy. Cinnamony, a little oaty, sweet. They're delicious just to snack on. Now put up the nutrition facts right here. Like I said in the beginning, this whole batch is only 4 grams net carbs because of the coconut flour. Everything else in it is sugar alcohols or fat, but the way nutrition labels work, 2 sheets, 1 gram net carbs. It's delicious. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe and give it a try for yourself. Let me know down in the comments below what you're gonna make with these graham crackers. Are graham crackers just a favorite of yours to have as a snack? Or do you love some pie with a graham cracker crust? Or cheesecake? I just thought of something else. Teddy Grahams. Remember Teddy Grahams? I always have too many ideas and not enough time. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link will be down in the description box below, along with the blog link to the full recipe. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, we'll be back with many more keto, low-carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye, guys. Happy keto baking!